Hello Internet, it's me Josh, the Agent Gamer. So, happy Halloween! Ha 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 ha! But let's get straight to this, because there's only so many ways every single year I could talk about how much I love Halloween and then review a horror-themed retro game. So, the question is, which horror-themed retro video game am I going to play today? Well, in years past, around this time, I usually take a look at one of my favorite franchises, Castlevania. I've already reviewed Castlevania, Castlevania II Simon's Quest, Castlevania III Dracula's Curse, and just last year I took a look at both the Famicom and Game Boy versions of Kid Dracula. Since I like to review games in chronological order, I guess now it's time to take a look at the fourth game in the series. Some people say it's a must-have, it's a Super NES essential. Let's see how it really holds up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Super Castlevania IV. So, Super Castlevania IV. 4, as in it takes place right after Dracula's Curse, which it doesn't. Despite its name, Super Castlevania IV is actually a remake of the first Castlevania NES game. But despite it being a remake, it's an entirely new and different game. What? So in Japan, this game was always considered a remake of the original Castlevania. This game's director, Masahiro Uno, intended to make a Castlevania game, but with more updated features that would make the game less frustrating than previous titles. And while Super Castlevania is considered a remake, the level locations, level designs, and some of the music are all original. When the game was being brought over to the US, Konami USA decided to just consider it a full-on sequel instead, which I guess if you ignore the whole Simon Belmont fighting Dracula again despite the whole Dracula being resurrected every 100 years stuff, why couldn't this be a sequel? You play as a Belmont who whips his way into Dracula's castle to kill him, just like the other games. These days, Konami USA now recognizes this title as a remake, but all in all, when it's all said and done, Super Castlevania IV is a totally different experience than the NES title. So let's get to this. Let's play the damn game! As we start, you can enter your name. Not that it matters much, and then we get that cool reimagined opening cutscene. We start playing, and right away we start getting our whip upgrades. And one thing you'll notice pretty quickly is that you have full control of your whip. Unlike most Castlevania games where all you do is kind of whip forward, here you can whip in every direction. Defending yourself from bad guys has never been easier. Look at this! Cheese ballin'! Also, if you hold down the attack button, you'll have free movement to, twirl your flaccid whip however you like. You can even attack enemies like this, however, it doesn't do as much damage as just a regular whip attack. In fact, I had to get used to just tapping the attack button because I tend to hold down the button when I attack, and that would put the whip into that free control mode, which in turn caused me to not be so strong with my attacks. But yeah, never have we had so much control of the whip before. And that's not all. There's certain spots that you can use your whip as a grappling hook. I personally think Simon looks ridiculous doing this, but it's a neat little feature regardless. And this isn't the only game mechanic upgrades either. Simon's jumping has finally been fixed, so if you jump, you can actually control it better. You can also jump on stairs, or even drop down if you want. You still can't jump off the stairs, but considering you can whip in 8 different directions, you're not so defenseless. Also, the best upgrade this game can get is Simon Can Moonwalk! All in all, this is the best a Castlevania game has felt up to this point. Belmont just feels so powerful! I guess this is what Masahiro Uno meant by making the game easier. All the familiar weapons return here too, including the watch, the dagger, the axe, the firebomb, and my favorite, the boomerang. Try to hold onto the boomerang as long as possible, as it really makes boss fights, especially at the end, so much easier. Now to the levels themselves. In the first stage, we're heading to Dracula's castle, and you'll see some familiar enemies, like the skeletons, Medusa heads, and the dragon skull cannons. We even got some new enemies, like this one called Mr. Head. Get it? Like Mr. Ed, the show with the talking horse that came out 25 years before this game came out? Nearly 60 years ago today? So we go through some haunted stables, and our first boss is Rodane. He's overall not too tough to beat. Stage 2 has us in some woods where there's the Invisible Man and Molester Hands. We got some watery areas to go through and a mid-boss fight with Medusa, which, like the last boss, isn't too hard to beat. The third stage will go through a cave where we'll find some of these rock dudes that as you smash them, they get smaller and multiply. They also have the power to make the game lag. We'll then do some swing in and make our way to the next boss, the Orphic Vipers. This boss doesn't give me much trouble either. In fact, I gotta say, the beginning of this game really drags on to me. It's still got that good, Castlevania gameplay, but the challenge just isn't there yet. The fourth stage has us fighting some monsters and making our way through some tricky floor traps. We got a mid-boss fight with a pretty cool-looking skull enemy. His name is, Puexil? Puexil? It's lick you up backwards. Anyway, keep attacking, and when he dies, his skull explodes into chunks! Gnarly! Right afterwards, we enter a rotating room. Let's grapple hook, and wait for the screen to finish rotating. Alright, finally! Alright, let's beat up some of these flying Medusa heads for a bit, and then... we keep moving forward, and goddamn, look at these cool effects. After we go through a room with some rising platforms, we'll face our next boss, Coronat. Coronat will drop bricks from above as he stomps around. And what do we do when we got a problem? We whip it! We whip it good! When defeated, he'll expand and then blow away like a deflated balloon. Once we reach stage 6, we finally enter the castle. We'll fight against some familiar enemies here. We'll also do some swing in on some ridiculously huge chandeliers. When we reach this area here, we can actually go down here for a secret path. There's a bunch of candles with a lot of points and a dog that'll run around. Kill it, and this old man, who I'm assuming is his owner, cries over its lifeless body. I'm sorry, dude, I didn't mean to kill your dog. I mean, I did, but, it was self-defense. Your dog was being a dick. Oh well. Both of them vanished into the afterlife, so I guess I don't feel too bad. As we continue, we start getting some horrifying enemies, like the dining room table. Ah! We'll eventually get to the boss, which is a dancing couple called Paula Abdul and Fred Astaire. Huh. So we got Paula Abdul, Fred Astaire, and Mr. Ed references in our Castlevania games. What the hell were the US division of Konami smoking at that time? Anyway, boomerangs work really well here. The 7th stage has us going through a library and a picture gallery. Nothing really unexpected here. The boss here is Sir Grackle. Avoid the fire from his axe attack and whip him up good. So now we're on the 8th stage, and not to discredit everything we just went through, but that was a piece of cake compared to what we're about to go through now. Stage 8 starts ramping up the difficulty by adding an absurd amount of one-hit kill spikes. It's ridiculous! There's also collapsing bridges, one-eyed monsters, and Houdini blocks. At the end, we'll come face to face with the monster. He'll throw his own firebombs at you, but again, use that boomerang and he'll be a cinch to beat. So level 9 is the final stage. We're almost done, right? No. Stage 9 is broken into several stages, all with their own bosses. Damn it! It all begins with this haunted Cave of Wonders. This place is fancy. Even the skeletons are made out of gold. And the boss? It's nothing but jewels and coins. Keep whipping Zap Bat to destroy it. Now we'll make our way up a clock tower where at the end we'll fight Akmadon 2. He'll teleport now and then, but whip him and use a secondary weapon when possible to win. Now we'll be running for our damn lives on this bridge here. Then we got a rather annoying section where you must climb these collapsing stairs before you get run down by gigantic saws. That's rough, but not as rough as escalating the tower by jumping on these floating platforms. Don't get squished! Now we reach this boss, Slagra. And to be honest, I think I found this boss the hardest in the game. It took me a while to really get his pattern down, and once you do, it's still really tough because your movement has to be precise. Take that, you asshole! Now let's go on with the rest of the bosses. We'll get some more health and we'll go up against Gaiden. He shoots fireballs and drops spikes from the ceiling. For the love of God, I hope you still have that boomerang. Next up, we're fighting Death. Death will throw around some scythe boomerang type things before trying to drag you in with some weird, suckage. Avoid Death's giant swinging scythe and whip him when you can to win. Whew! Alright, well, this is it. This is the final battle with Dracula now. Let's do this! Let's kick his goddamn ass! So before the actual fight, there's a secret right here that'll load you up on health and goodies. Once you're full, climb back on up, and we enter Dracula's room and he awakens. He starts off by throwing some weak energy attacks. You can whip those away, but most importantly, whip Dracula. He'll then start using fire attacks. Whip him up some more. Once you get him to about a third of his life, he'll start transporting around the room while using lightning attacks. It's tricky, but watch for the placement of the lightning and Dracula to avoid being damaged. After so many hits, Dracula is defeated. Alright, round 1 is over. Come on, Dracula, transform! Let's see your big ugly transformation, you son of a bitch! Oh, that's it? I mean, the battle was tough, but I kinda expected it to be tougher. I mean, in previous games, didn't Dracula have a second transformation? Oh well. So after the credits roll, the game restarts, but now it's in hard mode. Here, more enemies will appear, and some enemies will even take additional hits to kill. So ladies and gentlemen, that's Super Castlevania IV. So, how is it? Super Castlevania IV, or as it should have just been called, Super Castlevania, is pretty dang good. As I stated earlier in my review, I feel the first part of this game kinda drags on, but once you get a few levels in, the game starts getting a bit more exciting. In terms of gameplay, this is really top-notch. Simon feels more versatile and overall really powerful. The new game mechanics are pretty handy. I haven't played every 2D Castlevania game out there, but this is the only game I recall that uses these new whipping techniques. How is this not the norm now? Super Castlevania IV is also a pretty good looking game. Some of the bosses here look really cool. Some of the stages are great too. And the music? The music is pretty good also. Overall, there's really not much to complain about. I've heard some people complain about how easy the game is. And while, yeah, I'll agree this is one of the easier Castlevania games, it still has plenty of moments of difficulty. Again, Masahiro Uno made this game to be on the easier side. If you want a more difficult challenge, play the damn hard mode. If I had to give this game any kind of harsh critiquing, it would be that it's a little bit too straightforward. In the previous game in the series, Dracula's Curse, we got to see things like branching paths and additional playable characters. None of that is here, but since this is a remake and the game it's remaking didn't have those either, I guess I can expect that. All in all though, Super Castlevania is a great game. It's no wonder this game was added to the Super Nintendo Classic years on back. This is most definitely a Super Nintendo essential. But those are just my opinions. What do you guys think? What do you think of Super Castlevania? Love it? Hate it? Let me know in the comments below. Well, if you want to like and subscribe, you're more than welcome to. And if this comes out before Halloween, I'm hoping I can do it. Happy Halloween, everyone. I love you guys. Take care.